We'll have a moment of silent prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mrs. Franks?
Mayor Kindle,
Yes.
Councilwoman Costantino,
Present.
Councilman Jenny,
Here.
Councilwoman LaPratt,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki,
Here.
Councilwoman Williams,
Present.
Councilman Toussaint,
Present.
Acting City Manager Szymanski,
Here.
City Attorney Diwali.
Here.
Okay, resolution, or I'm sorry.
Okay, I need
All here.
a motion to approve of the minutes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'll offer the motion to accept, receive, and file the minutes of the regular city council meeting held August 14th, 2023, to accept, receive, and file the special city council meeting minutes held August 17th, 2023, to receive and file the library board meeting minutes from June 16th, 2023, and to accept and file the receive and file the Planning Commission meeting minutes held August 23rd, 2023.
Support.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next is D, is a public comment on agenda items only. So if you have something on the agenda that you want to speak of, this is your time to speak. This is not time for public comments. So if it's something on the agenda you want to speak on, fine.
Thank you, Council.
Madam Mayor and Council, it's such a pleasure to join you again this evening. I have done some detailed information on the development of Poupard, and looking futuristically, I don't see any benefits financially on,
This I don't mention.
for one, demolishing the building. I still feel as though it can be utilized for something else. Perhaps, as I mentioned, an indoor hydroponic for food. I feel as though we're getting a lot of bioengineered products. I feel as though it's not healthy. In the long term of that, I don't know how our cognitive skills are actually going to be able to hold up in a 5-year plan at this rate with the fake food. So that's one aspect, Madam Mayor, and I plead with you to consider this aspect with a greenhouse aspect, simply because you need to take care of your community, and we need healthier products than what we're getting. The foreseeable future, we see that we are going to have to ask permission to go into stores. Our stores are going to be limited, and maybe, perhaps, in the long run, our children can benefit by being involved with this project and feel more of a community, giving them happiness because they're growing their own food. Another aspect that I decline on this project of Poupard is simply because a lot of cities around the United States the projects are failing in mid-build, and yes, they are. In mid-build, products are hard to get. Here's an example. I purchased a piece of 8x10 drywall, or 4x8 drywall.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, thank you. Your
you.
concern was about Papar.
Thank you.
And we appreciate that. Now, let's not get everything twisted up here. We don't own the land or the Papar building. So we're at the grace of the Grosse Pointe School District. Whichever they decide to do with it, it's what we have to roll with. Oh, yes. Yes. We don't own it. The only thing we can do is make objections to if it's wants to be another nonprofit or something there. Excuse me, I'm speaking. But the fact of it is, everyone seems to think that we can do something with that land. That land belongs to Grosse Pointe School District. I didn't create this, I inherited this. So, for years and years and years, as long as it was a school, everyone was satisfied. But now that it's no longer a school, it is up to Grosse Pointe School District as to how they would dispose of that land, period. So now, let's move on. The consent agenda,
Adam,
yes, is something
go ahead.
according to a comment on the agenda item.
I believe the agenda item on question is for Bard School, correct? And then also, during the planning commission meeting, there was talk of keeping it at 5% rental only, okay, maximum of. And I think you can control that, even though once it's sold to the company that's going to develop it, then you have control of the property, correct?
Once
You're
it's
not gonna
sold,
get any tax
the
money either.
developer has the control of the property. The city of Harper Woods don't own it, will not own it, unless by some chance that they give us the land.
So in
But
other
the
words,
land is being sold to a developer. They are the ultimate people that will be controlling what's going on there. Yes, they have to get approval through us for planning and whatever, but the control of that land and the sale begins with the Grosse Pointe School District and goes to the developer.
Okay, maybe this is a question for your legal counsel. Can they put in a stipulation to say 5% rental only on developments over 10 lots?
That would be something that the developer would
Why the
probably do.
developer, not the city? I'm just questioning that because then you're talking about the fox owning the hen house. That doesn't make any sense. So the city, we're having this meeting now in the city. Why? If the developer and Grosse Pointe own everything, what is the purpose of this?
Because they still have to
Zoning,
have our
exactly.
permission. The
Exactly,
planning,
I'm saying with the
that's-
zoning to
that's-
5%
right.
rental only, because I hate to see it become totally rental properties.
We have no intentions of having that either. We don't want that either.
Oh, well, but I'm saying put stipulations in so it will not happen. Because you don't want it doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. You know?
Right, that would lose, yeah. There's certain amount of tax incentives that they will be getting, and if they don't follow the rules that are set up along those lines, they'll lose those things.
But I mean, yeah, okay, you're gonna give them a tax break for the first 10 years or 8 years, or whatever was decided. I'm not sure in the exact dates. But then after 8, 9 years, they can do what they want, or the people that own the properties can do what they want. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me if it's a development, and the development is, let's say, over 10 properties, over 10 parcels. Why can't you put a stipulation in that only, a 5% max can be rentals?
Madam Mayor,
We have
Well-
enough rentals in the city now, we don't need any more. And I
You know,
think- Yes, okay,
HOA,
but you can still
will-
override
will
the
all that comes along because, you know, oh, Sharon, I'm
please.
so
Please, Sharon.
sorry. I had my back to you. Would you
No.
please?
No, we don't answer questions during public comment.
I
Yes,
thought
ma'am.
our
This goes to the
legal
planning,
counsel had
this goes
something
to the
there.
planning
That's not-
commission
Okay.
for the zoning approval
Yes.
as to whatever criteria might be included in there. You are correct, it's owned by the Grosse Pointes, it's not our property to sell or to do anything else with. It's for them to sell and develop. And everything else within the city goes to the zoning board, which I'm not part of, and I'm not going to comment at this time.
Okay, to the zoning board.
We don't answer questions. This is public comment.
This is a comment by me. on the Pine Public, correct?
Yes.
I'm just questioning, I'm asking. I mean, maybe I'm not. But I'm saying to you, look at the actual being able to do that. There's got to be wording you can put in. I'm sure the astute legal counsel can handle that for you. You know, so, my comment.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has a public comment on agenda items?
Madam Mayor, would you allow me, please?
No, you extended it.
I have a question. There were just a handful of us that attended a planning commission meeting. It was like around, was it like the second week of August, I think? And one of the questions that I brought up was, I know the property is owned by the school district and they can do whatever they want, but I said, doesn't the planning commission have approval or whatever? And one of the people there said, ask the planning commission if they had our backs. And they said, we do, and that we have a lot of questions about the development also, our concerns. And then I asked, I said, what happened? We don't like any of the plans. And I was told that there are only 3 different developers to come up with this plan. And I said, well, what happens if we keep saying no, no, no? And they were saying, well, I'm assuming then that they would say we walk away. So doesn't the planning commission have a little bit more say than this? I'm just asking.
No.
Because that's what they said. So they're giving us all this information, our planning commission. So,
No, it's not that they're the developers. He's gonna make his presentation, and we will say whether it's the goal or if it's not. But would you rather see a vacant piece of land just sitting there?
well, I'm just saying that we were just asking them. I'm just saying when we were asking them, that I just said, what happens if the planning commission says, well, we want to tweak this, we want to tweak that, and they just kind of, I would assume they were saying, well, if the development company just gets tired of everything, they might just walk away. So
I
that's
hope
what they were
not.
told.
I
That's
hope not.
Madam Mayor, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Okay, I know there's a lot of questions about the development part, but there is a presentation today about the development. So I think it might be good to hear what they have to say and then
Question him.
question him,
No, it's
because he
not
has a
public.
presentation to do today.
It's not a public
All
hearing.
right,
It's not a public hearing.
They can't
Oh.
ask questions.
So you won't really be able to question him, but you can listen to what he has to say. And I think that might clear up some of your questions.
We can make questions after everything, all the
No.
agendas taken care of.
Well, after everything is
At the
done.
very end, but by then we will have made a decision on the zoning.
Okay, but we have the time and space to bring up other questions that are
At the end.
after you guys have done your.
You have a called audience, and that way you can, again, speak what you want to say at that time.
And I'm also sure that,
I think I need to take this off.
Other comments? Anyone
No,
else?
not the called audience. So, let's, without,
Just move to the consent.
Any other comments on
yeah, that's, so at the consent agenda, I need a resolution.
Madam Mayor,
Madam-
I'll make
Yes.
the resolution to approve consent agenda items 1 through 8.
Support.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Mrs. Franks.
Councilwoman Constantino.
Yes.
Councilman Jenny.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaPret.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, let's take us to old business, and since we have none, we'll go to new business and city manager report.
I'm looking for, let's see, oh, here it is. Okay, item G1, request to rezone 20655 Lennon, former Polpard Elementary. Mayor and council, attached is a memorandum from the city clerk submitting a request to rezone the property at 20655 Lennon, the former Polpard Elementary site. This request was brought before the Planning Commission at their August 23, 2023 meeting, at which they recommended to the City Council that this rezoning be approved with the following conditions. 1, agreement is reached in principle pending the execution of a development agreement between the applicant and the City of Harper Woods regarding the proposed dedication of public space and maintenance identified in the plan narrative. 2, the applicant receives all other necessary approvals from the city or other public agencies, including the engineer's review and approval of the traffic study. As her memo states, the property is currently zoned R1-B, and the request is to rezone this property into a planned unit development to construct 71 residential homes. The final approval of the rezoning request must be made by the City Council as required by the zoning ordinance. Mayor, a resolution is recommended.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'll offer the resolution to approve the request from applicant Tim Longren of Renovar Robertson Harper Woods LLC to rezone parcel number 42-010-07-0066-3305 from R1B, one family residential district, to a PUD planned unit development district.
Support.
Okay, any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I have a couple of concerns. Well, I think it'd be nice to have some tax revenue. These are gonna be, the tax revenue will be little bit less for 12 years because they'll be subsidized. But more importantly, the original plan was brought forth with more 3 bedrooms. And I think what the community needs is 3 and 4 bedroom units. This is just a bunch of 2 bedroom units. All of them are 2 bedrooms. There's not any choice to have any 3 bedroom units or 4 bedroom units. And, you know, this is right by the park. This would be a great place for families, but unless they're cramming a whole bunch of people into two bedrooms, I don't think this is really something that's geared toward families. So, I mean, I'd really, really like to see something adjusted to allow for some 3 bedroom units.
Madam Mayor?
And I'm also, I'm still concerned they're crammed together and that there's going to be a shortage of parking. They did mention adding some more parking spaces at the Planning Commission meeting, but I would like to see a guarantee of that.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Will we be hearing from the developer before we start the discussion? I mean, can we hear from the developer?
He's waiting on you guys to start the discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Is this on?
Does seem quiet, but
Good evening. I'm Tim Walker with Robertson Brothers Homes. We're very excited to be here tonight. With me is Jill Ferrari from Renovari and Shannon Morgan as well from Renovari. We've teamed up with them. We think they're the best in the business in bringing attainable housing. Robertson Brothers has been around for a long time, so I don't want to oversell us, but we're top 5 home builder in the southeast Michigan market, and I think we'll bring you a very quality development. So the project itself, it's just about 6.5 acres. It is zoned R1B. We're proposing a PUD. We think this is the perfect timing to bring a development of this caliber, and just with all the pieces that we've been able to put together. And as you'll see, we've actually made a lot of modifications over time. which I think is just betterment for the project itself. It's hard for me to see this a little bit. We're proposing 71 homes. There are 48 paired homes as well as 23 townhomes. The density is just around 10 units per acre. And we've got about 25% plus open space on site, which I think is a really important component. And I'll walk through the site plan with you because I think that's important to really kind of focus on some of the real details of the site that are important. Going back, we'll go back. The plan type specifically, that has been discussed already a little bit here tonight, but we're proposing, again, 2-story paired homes, so about 1,200 square feet, 2 bedrooms, and then also 3-story, about 1,300 square foot townhomes, also 2 bedrooms. Thank you. Appreciate that. I do have new contacts too, so that's about 1,300 square feet with an attached single car garage. I want to make it very clear these are for sale units. We're not proposing any rentals. In fact, we did agree in the Planning Commission that we would limit it to 0% rentals. So we're able and willing to do that. If you want to put a stipulation, we're happy with that. We will add that to the PUD agreement, which obviously would dictate what can go on the site. We'd also agree to put it in our master deed, so there would be no possibility for any rental units to the end buyer. So we're 100% on board with that and have no issue with that. I know that that's been a concern of some. I want to at least allay those concerns going forward. From a building height, the duplexes are 2 stories, as I mentioned, under 30 feet to the midpoint, and then 35 feet to the midpoint for the 3-story townhomes. Moving on. Just the site context, everybody's obviously very familiar with the site. It is a former Picard Elementary School site. The Grosse Pointe School District had, about a year ago, I put this out for an RFP, and we were awarded the RFP in order to develop the site. There were a couple others, but again, I think they liked kind of the direction we were going. We had a lot of conversations with the school district and with the city before we actually even had put in the offer. So we're very well versed with the area and the economics of it as well. So that's how it would fit from the context. Again, I think it was really important to point out that we are really acting as a buffer to that freeway. The freeway's right there, I-94. So this is what we call a transitional type of property. So moving on. From the highlights, I don't want to read through this word by word, but I do want to stress this is high quality, owner-occupied new housing. And I know that's there hasn't been much of that lately in Harper Woods, and we think it's very important that we can do that here. So the timing, as I mentioned, we'll get into that a little bit, really has kind of aligned to allow us to do exactly what we're proposing. Actually less traffic than the school, the previous school use. We'll have multiple open space areas. Most of it will be controlled by an HOA on the on-site portion. And we'll have walkways and that sort of thing. So it's really important that we had a lot of open space and didn't kind of close that off. A walkable and inviting community, sidewalks throughout, that's really important to us. And really it's an option for residents that are currently underserved. We know there's a lot of demand for this at the price points that we'll have to be at. And I think that it's going to be a very successful project because of that. And as I mentioned before, it really is an appropriate transition to adjacent residents. So moving on to project vision. So we throw this term around a lot, missing middle, but really that is, I think we're really seeking to fit that mold, the missing middle mold, which really speaks to the specific needs of the housing market that we're talking about. There's really not much of what we're proposing in the existing market. So you'll see, I think this is the site plan. So you can see the townhomes are the buffer to the freeway, as I mentioned. Those would be the ones on the right, kind of that orange color. Those are all single car attached, 3-story townhomes. And again, that really is kind of a buffer. We wanted to bring the scale down as we moved west because of the existing neighborhood. We thought that was very important from the very beginning. So that's where you have a lot of the paired homes as it moved off to the west. The majority of them are the paired homes, as we kind of talked about before. But you can see there's a lot of green space, a lot of open space, and that really has been kind of our driver from the beginning to make sure that this isn't a closed off, fenced in type of neighborhood. A couple of things on this. I heard the comment about the parking. I know that's come up. We are part to exceeding the minimum, which is 2 units. I'm sorry, 2 parking spaces per unit. But that does not include any of the on-street parking. We are proposing to put inset parking, to build inset parking on all of the streets, well, Van Antwerp and Lennon, and then the new extension where the park is, which would allow some kind of relief for additional parking for guests. That would be open to the public, so we wouldn't say existing residents can't use that area. So I think that's an important fact to make. We had talked about Dupre having parking as well. We're open to that. If you wanted to stipulate that, we've looked at that. We can do that from an engineering standpoint, so we'd be happy to also put parking instead on street parking along Dupre. So that would add a few more parking spaces, I think around 6, 7, 8, something like that. So I know that had come up. I wanted to refer to it. Moving on to the plan iterations, I put this in just to kind of show how it's evolved since we started on the site. You can see from the left, we were looking at kind of a denser type. It's hard to see, but that's kind of a hand sketch that our planner had done. Really more of a higher density exercise. If you go through the master plan of Harper Woods, you'll see that actually calls for higher density on the site. I can't recall if it's 15, 18, 20 units per acre. That's more than what we're proposing. That's kind of where we started because we went and looked at your ordinances and your guidelines, and we thought this would be an area where we could do more density. But as we really looked at the site, kind of understood the surrounding neighborhood and how that would fit in, that's when we really kind of shifted to more of a lower density paired type of product. And then you can see a couple different plan iterations from there. So on the right, that was, I think, probably what we showed the neighborhood when we had a neighborhood meeting back in July, I think it was. It was June. And you can see we had some townhomes right up against the neighborhood to the south, which did not go over very well. You know, sometimes we're not the smartest people, so we certainly heard them, and we've moved those off. You can see we don't have any townhomes close to any of the neighborhood to the south. So we've moved those and just kind of made some improvements from there, rather than having some singles where it really looked like they were very narrow and didn't really fit in. Going to the all paired, I think, really made this project look like it's going to fit in a lot more than what we had before. So that's kind of the iteration from start to finish, and hopefully you guys can appreciate the time we spent, the planning commission, with the neighborhood, with staff, and just working through some of those issues and comments. So we can move on to the product design. Go to the next one, Jill. On the top right, those are the townhomes, the 3-story townhomes. And that's really that's from another development that we're building. We actually build more townhomes than anybody else in the metro area, so we do have a lot of, obviously, familiarity with this product. We think it would fit in perfectly here. So that's our 3-story townhome on the top right. From a design aesthetic standpoint, lots of brick, lots of high quality elements, and really just, you know, built to Energy Star Plus is how we build our product. On the bottom left, those would be the paired units, which are the 2-story units, and we're kind of trying to use that theme as well with colors, lots of brick, and then again, kind of bringing in some color so it's not really that monotonous look as you drive down the streets. We wanted to kind of tie in some colors, but also still have a traditional look to fit in with the neighborhood with a lot of the brick. And that was something we heard from the neighborhood as well. Moving on. So we do want to talk about incentives just a bit, because that really has driven us where we are. I understand not everybody's going to love the site plan, not everybody's going to love the product. I think we've had to compromise in many areas, and I think we've gotten to a place where hopefully everybody can kind of understand why we got there. But it's important to talk about the incentives and the timing of such. So we have been awarded 2 incentive programs. One of them is MSHDA's Missing Middle, and then the other one is Home Funds through Wayne County. And what's really important to know is they have timelines. In fact, they usually give you an award when you are shovel ready. So we're not shovel ready. We actually were ranked number 1 in Wayne County. We got the top spot for all of Wayne County sites, which I think is kind of a testament to Harper Woods, testament to our project, testament really to Renovari. But that does come with a timeline. So we don't have a shovel ready. So that is why we're really kind of pushing what might seem too fast, but really pushing to get through so we can keep our funding, because it will dry up. It's kind of a once in a, I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but that funding will be drying up very quickly here. So that is why we're moving through, so we can keep the funding on both of those. We still are asking for brownfield. Obviously, we have a building to take down, which is, I think, appropriate. And then we kind of alluded to the NEZ. And I don't have, I'll go into detail if you want on that, but from an NEZ standpoint, you know your taxes are high, and it really is impossible to build anything new without having an NEZ. That's something that we've done in other communities too. Hazel Park, Detroit, but what I'll say is new development does not occur in those communities without an NEZ. It just does not happen. So, and that's really, would affect values all across the board without an NEZ. But again, we don't have a project without it. So again, as I mentioned, they're time sensitive, and really there's not going to be another round of missing middle funds. So this is really now or never, unfortunately, in that respect. Moving on. So I just wanted to stress on the target market a little bit. Jill and Shannon can go into this in a little bit more detail. They are experts in this. This is why we brought them on board as partners. But again, the incentives really are necessary to bridge that market gap. Construction costs are just way too high. It's ridiculous what construction costs have come into today. So there's no way to build these and sell them at the current market. So we knew we needed incentives. We were very open about this from the very beginning when we first started meeting with the school district and the neighborhood and the city. So that's always been part of the plan to cover the gap between construction costs and the local market conditions. What the funding incentives that we've received, they come with some requirements for meeting AMI, average median income limits. This will not be a Section 8 housing. This will not be low income, won't be a low rent community or anything like that. We simply have to sell to buyers that are within that gap of 60 to 120% essentially of the average median income. But that is, that's everyday people, and that's really what we're trying to focus on. And I think that's really where the need is for housing in our region as a whole, to be honest. So if we can go to the next page, as I mentioned, these are some of the jobs that we found that would qualify within those gaps. And I mean, I think those are, these are the types of neighbors that you'll see there. And I think this really is what we should all kind of focus on providing quality housing for. So math teacher, hospice nurse, public safety officer, right here in Harper Woods. So that's really our focus on who we're targeting for the community. Next slide. This is just kind of go into some of the details on why why we're doing this. Essentially, it comes down to the monthly payment, and that includes everything. That includes HOA costs. That includes NEZ. That includes all of bringing the incentives down. It includes down payment assistance where needed, where necessary. So I can go into a little more detail of this. Of course, Renovari can as well. If you have any questions about it, but we wanted to provide a little bit of color why this is all important to us. Moving on to the next slide. I'm not going to go into this because it's a shameless self-promotion. I just want to point out, I think you have a team that's here to build out through thick and thin. We've been around, Robertson's been around for almost 80 years, and we saw the worst of times when we made it through. We finished every single project we started, which not many people can say. So we believe in that. That's who we are. We will not leave your community stranded. That's not just who we are. So I know that kind of came up, but I can guarantee you with 80 years behind us that's very important to us. And of course, Renovari, as I mentioned, majority woman-owned real estate development company. They really do focus on these transformational type of projects, which is exactly why we brought them on board. So went through that pretty quickly. I'm happy to kind of slow down and answer any questions that you have. Of course, Jill and Shannon are happy to answer any questions as well. So thank you for your time, and we're happy to be here.
Any questions of City Council?
Yes, Madam Mayor? Okay, I just had a couple of questions for you. So you say it was 0 targeted to rentals off for home ownership, correct?
So what I'm saying is, it's all for sale. Everything that we're going to put for sale is for owner-occupied housing. But we are 100% willing to put in the PUD agreement, if you want, at a minimum in the master deed, that no rental housing is allowed. So we're happy to do that.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Okay, I saw that your target market was not low income. It's for just your regular middle class
Correct.
person. Because on your list, I see mathematics teacher, which I happen to be. So, and I see diesel mechanic, which is what my husband was. So you
We
know,
did do that on purpose.
so it's, just your regular middle class people. It's not the low income. It's not for the super rich or anything. So I was just wondering, is there a price range, or have you worked out roughly? About what
So I think we want to
this is?
stay close to where the market is, right? So we've been kind of targeting the low 200s, I think is where our price point would be, if you will. It's kind of hard to say until we get our costs. It really is driven by that, but we're really going to be limited, obviously, on these AMIs. But that's sort of where we're going to be, and exactly what you said is why we want to build this project. Construction costs right now, we're building. Most of our communities are building for prices that I think are going to be ridiculous. And this gives us an opportunity to really build for where I think the need of the market is, and where there really is a need for that type of housing.
And then I had another question. Are you planning to build basements or slabs?
So right now it's all slabs, and that's really only. And the townhomes will be slab no matter what. That's how we build our townhomes. We would love to be able to put basements in the paired homes. I think that would be something that we would strive for. We don't know if we can get to the costs to make that happen. So that's something that, and maybe we can look at some of the opportunities to do that as we move along. So I don't want to obviously guarantee that we'll be able to do basements, but it's something that I know is important. We've heard it from Planning Commission. We heard it from the neighbors. And for us, we'd be obviously more marketable to have basements, but really we have to be able to afford it and work it into our construction costs. So I'd have to answer that with maybe.
I've got 2 more questions. I'm done. Okay, another one is about the parking.
Yes.
Because it's not enough parking for all of the places, and you said that you might have parking on the tree.
Well, just to explain, we will have 2 spaces per unit, which meets all of your requirements. So there is no parking deficiency. And in addition to that, we will have on-street parking, which would be along Lennon on the south, Van Antwerp on the north, and then you can see there are a couple spaces where the proposed park is. So those would be street parking. We are insetting it, so it's not going to affect any of the traffic lanes, if you will. What we talked about at the Planning Commission is possibly doing that on Dupre as well. So that's something that we can look at, doing some inset on-street parking, which, like I said, probably could get up to, I'd say, about 8 spaces there. So that's something we're willing to do, and I think that'd be better for not just our project, but again, the community can use those spaces.
Okay.
So we'll have, I think, well over 2 spaces per unit. I think it's closer to like 2.5.
Okay, my last question is about the park.
Yes.
Now, this park is accessible to the public, not just to the housing area, right?
So we are proposing that it would be a public park to be maintained by the city. So that's what our proposal is. Either way, we're going to build a park. Obviously, if the HOA has maintained it, it would be private and not open to the public. We think it's best for everybody involved to be a public park. We're more than happy to make that a public park. Again, with the city doing the maintenance. So it would be accessible. We think of it more like a neighborhood park. It would be accessible by the neighbors walking to it. because there's a school there, right? So this would kind of be a replacement for that to some degree. So we think of it more of a neighborhood type of amenity, not necessarily where people from all across Harper Woods would drive to, but yes, our proposal would make it a public park.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
So, I've seen your presentation, I think 6 times, at 3 school board meetings,
Okay.
and I think 3 here. So, but I do have a question. So, what I've heard is that the approximate cost to build these is about $325,000, and your sale price is between $2 and $225 for these 2-bedroom units. Could you give us a guesstimate, if you made these into 3 and 4-bedroom units, what would be the cost and the sale? So would that even be?
We would not be able to make the AMI. And I probably should have mentioned that because I know that question would come up. Again, that's sort of where I don't want to say compromise because that's not a good word. I think it really is kind of a puzzle piece more than anything. We cannot make that happen with the current AMI ban that we have to be in. So it would add a lot. It adds space, which means less units, which, that's not the end of the world, but the flip side of that is that just makes all the houses more expensive because there's less of them too. So we're not able to fit it on there. We did a lot of exercises to see how we can change the mix up, but it would not be possible with our incentives.
They've asked a lot of my questions, so.
Madam Mayor, yes, thank you. In addition, I think 3 and 4 bedroom houses would knock you right out of the idea of middle market, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, really kick us out of that AMI.
Okay. I have a few specific questions.
Yeah.
In my packet, and I know you're not looking at the same material that I am, but at one point you talk, or it's been identified, that there will be a retention basin built into this property.
No retention basin, what we're proposing, we could have made that a retention basin and just made it look like a bathtub. What we're proposing is for us to spend the additional cost to do underground detention, which is a lot more expensive, but what that allows us to do is create a park. Otherwise it'd be unusable. I mean, to have it something like that would not be usable. We're proposing to keep it basically at grade and put the underground detention pipes underneath the ground. So we would be retaining, and I didn't mention this, and I'm glad you pointed that out, we would be retaining all of our required stormwater. As of right now, there really is none. So I don't know what the drainage issues there are out there. I'm assuming there's a lot of reserves everywhere.
Yeah.
This will definitely make the situation better by holding all of that impervious surface in those underground detention pipes and releasing it at an agricultural rate.
I'm somewhat familiar with the idea of doing underground retention. My old school, Lord University now, did a permeable parking lot with over 50,000 gallon retention that they use to sprinkle the lawns. And so they claim, and this is in Toledo, or just outside of Toledo, and they claim that they've been the greenest place in the entire Toledo area because they use stormwater. And so I didn't know if you had considered the idea of permeable pavement as well, but I know that having a retention basin is going to be very beneficial to the city in a number of ways.
Certainly, certainly. And the only thing I'd say to that, I think we do that in certain cases, semi-permeable pavement. It's a function of cost, obviously, but it's also a function of maintenance. And if it's not maintained well, it basically doesn't work anymore. So that we're really careful whenever we apply that, and you have to have obviously the right soil. Like that.
Another question I have, which came up on our page 142, has to do with the proposed height, the maximum structure height. And I don't know if this, and perhaps our city manager can answer this question for me, does this go back to the planning commission for the details, or does it end with us?
You're giving it final approval
Right.
according
So it
to the
basically ends with
conditions
us.
that are outlined here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that the townhouse, it says the height is unknown, and that we are approving this. I had been told before that, that at a maximum, it may be 5 feet above our, zone
Yes.
area. So I'm asking you, what do you anticipate for a height variance?
So I think the requirement is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 2.5 feet and 35 feet. But we're proposing, I'm sorry, 2.5 stories and 35 feet. We're proposing 3 stories and 35 feet. That's to the midpoint. I may be wrong about that. It might be 30 feet. But we are 35 feet to the midpoint of the townhome.
So in other words, it's not more than 5 feet different than our current.
That's correct.
Okay. I was also wondering, on my page 145, so let me flip to that. It says, the plans do not include locations of any HVAC or mechanical equipment. So I know that these townhomes and paired homes are going to use air conditioning. So how are you handling that if it's
Yeah,
not?
and I
in
don't
the-
know if it's, I think it's shown on the plan you have there, but extremely difficult to see. I don't even see it on this one. But they're always, we ground mount them. Cities typically don't want them roof mounted, so we put them on the ground. Generally speaking, kind of on the side. So on the paired homes, you can kind of think of it on kind of the back side, closer to where the parking area is, and then we'll screen them. I think the requirement for Arbor Woods is a screen on three sides.
Yes.
So we'll meet the requirement for screening these ones on the ground. It'll be the same as the townhomes. The townhomes, since there's more of them in a row, you're going to have them kind of lined up next to each other now on the side of the townhome, and then again screened with a 2.5-foot fence.
Okay. I just wanted to make certain that the screening was anticipated
Yes,
and,
of course.
okay, taken care of.
Yes.
Also, it mentions the renderings do not indicate chimneys. So is there any type of chimney that's necessary in
No.
modern buildings? I don't know.
No, we'll typically do like a direct vent type of fireplace. So no, we don't chimneys.
Okay. Also, one of the things that was mentioned to us, we recommend, this is what we were told by our planner, we recommend that further details be provided about the construction of trash bins where you have those to ensure that the enclosures are durable and they remain permanently in place and so attached to a concrete pad. Is that something that you can do for your anticipated?
Yeah, it's something I know we'll work out with staff. So we're not doing like what you typically think of like a trash enclosure. Every unit will have its own bins, just like a single-family home. In the townhomes, they're in the garage until it's trash day, and then they're wheeled out in the back, just like a single-family home, and they're picked up. That's how we do all of our townhomes. With the paired homes, since there's not a garage to put them in, we have proposed to staff a detail for a individual trash enclosure. And I don't know if they had enough time to review that or not. We'll certainly work it out with staff to make sure that they're satisfied. And I don't see any issues with that whatsoever.
Okay, and then I have 3 questions that are just something that came up as I was reading this. The parking area that you have behind the paired homes, rather large parking area. I'm glad to see that they're, what would you call it, vertical parking. You have a lot of space there for cars. Is there lighting, like street lights in that space? I'd hate for it to be a very dark space, at night, because it's a fairly large area, and with the shading from trees and that sort of thing, I would think that putting in a few street lights would be in order in that parking area.
I don't think we'd object to that. Typically what we do, and again, we don't really build many of these paired homes. We build more townhomes and then single family and detached condominiums. What we typically do is we put lighting on the front and back, which would, in our mind, provide enough lighting for that rear area. We can work with staff on that and have a photometric that gets them happy. and if that involves adding streetlights. Again, we're trying to keep costs low, but
Right.
we don't want an unsafe condition. We also don't want it too bright back there to where it's bothering. We have bedrooms that are right there, so
Right.
that's always a concern of ours. So we typically don't do street lighting in these types of conditions. But I'm more than willing to work with staff as we go through final engineering.
Well, I did note that in your description, it mentions, wall-mounted lights. And when I look at the plans with the number of large trees that seem to border that, I was just a little concerned that it might be a little too dark in that area, and that's a safety concern, for me. Another question has to do with sidewalk. I presume that homeowners in these areas, because, well, maybe the townhomes are different because they have garages, but with the paired homes, certainly it would be a bit inconvenient to have snow plows or anything like that to handle winter snow. Will the HOA
Yes.
take responsibility for that?
Yeah, the intent is to have the HOA handle the maintenance of the on-site landscaping around the paired homes and then and the townhomes, and then snow removal as well. Yes.
Okay, that's good. And then finally, the park that you envision, and I know that there are two. One is a proposed pocket park, which is fairly small, and a nice barrier and that sort of thing. But the larger community park, very similar, I would think, to Danbury Park. We already have a small community park that was put in by a builder at the end of Danbury Lane. And I would imagine that this is not unlike that park in terms of, not having easy parking access to get there, and that doesn't bother me. But I want to make certain that there is some sort of barrier between Harper Avenue and this community park. I know that in the past, from time to time, we've had problems with, some vagrant people getting into some of our parks, sleeping in kids' playground equipment, this sort of thing. And naturally, it would be patrolled. But if there were something that would make that park, I guess my concern is I wouldn't want to see vagrants using this attractive space in a way that would be uncomfortable, for the community. And so I'm curious, is there fencing? Is there a wall? Is there something that can be added along Harper that might prevent easy access, after hours access to a park like this?
Well, I think that's a good point. Of course, that's important to us. Right now, the plan shows it looks like some deciduous trees with some hedge in between that. So that in itself is a deterrent, but certainly wouldn't stop people. If you'd allow us to maybe work with staff on that, to think of ways that we can make that, address that comment. But obviously we don't want to do it where the townhomes are, just because, first of all, it's kind of a perception, and it's somewhat close to Harper already, so there wouldn't be enough room for landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, once we're up, you'd be really surprised how criminal activity goes down. It happens all the time. Now, while we're building, trust me, it's not easy. In Detroit, we lost a skid steer the other day, which was driving down the road. So I mean, that's something that's always a concern. But once people are living there, you'd be really surprised on how that kind of wanes. So, but I can certainly see by the park. I think that's where you were talking about. So that's something we can look at.
I think that these look very attractive, and I'm looking forward to some very positive outcomes from this.
Quick question. I can't really tell by these pictures. My turn, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wasn't speaking out of order.
Thank
I
you.
want to make sure. Do these? I can't tell from the pictures. They are constructed with some brick to them, aren't they?
Yes, so I think it's the first floor on all of them is brick, and then if you look at the townhomes, it goes up to the second floor in a lot of cases, especially in the front. It's mostly brick on the front. So yes, the wherever you can see, touch, and feel, it's all brick.
Okay. Next question, you mentioned about on-street parking. We don't have on-street parking allowed between 2:30 and 5 in the morning. I'm not sure.
I was made aware of that from the planning commission, so yes, we would abide by whatever ordinances you have.
Okay, so we're not talking about that on-street parking anymore. Okay.
Well, it'd be on-street parking and no parking through those hours. I mean, that's, it's really meant to kind of handle, it's not meant for residents, right? So it's really meant it's for guests that are over for an event. So we will add that into the master deed.
Okay. Next question, we're gonna sell these, and there's also gonna be an association fee on top of these. I'm just trying to figure, these houses gonna start in the low 200s, and with the income levels that we're looking at here, I was wondering, do you think with that and the association fee that it's gonna be, that we can afford it? I mean, I'm just looking at my own income, and I'm just wondering if I could afford it.
That's their job.
Okay.
No, it is going to be tight for sure, and that's why obviously those incentives are really important, because that brings that gap to manageable.
So you think, how much association fee you think it would be? $200 a month? I mean, but
Honestly, it's probably going to be $150.
okay. And my last question was, I saw the trash containers that you have.
Yes.
Now, the way, the way they pick up trash here, is that going to fit right into our own system of how we pick up trash, or what kind of modification?
Ideally, so it's really up to the municipality. Ideally, as part of taxes, or if you have a separate payment for solid waste pickup through the city, ideally it would be through that system. But there are areas where the HOA would contract for those services. So it would not be on an individual. It would either be through the city or through the HOA.
Because the way we are in the city, you have your own trash bins and you put it out in the street.
Yes.
Here, it doesn't seem like they could do that, and I don't think, and I don't see the trash. Can the trash people come through this area?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Yeah. So certainly, and as we design this, you have to design it for fire access as well.
Okay.
So that usually means the solid waste trucks can make those turns. So yes, they probably aren't going to like some of the ends of those drives in the townhomes, I'll be honest. And sometimes we have to have designated areas where the trash bins go out that maybe aren't right behind the garages. But we will certainly work with that as we get through the final engineering stage.
Thank you.
Yep.
I also had some concerns because according to this, if one person who makes $39,780 could buy in, and I don't see someone who makes that being able to afford, $225,000 or whatever. But then at the same time, somebody who has 8 people can have $150,000. I don't know where you're going to put 8 people in a 2-bedroom, but that's why we need the 3 and 4. But I wanted to know, and this might be for you ladies as well, what's your process going to be as far as, are you going to be taking deposits from people who want to buy in beforehand? So then, maybe that way you can afford to put the basements in or something like that?
Yeah,
Because the basements will really, really add value, and they'll sustain the value. Because that's really important. If we look forward, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, having a basement is going to add a lot of value to these units.
I don't disagree at all. I think it's hard to do it onesie-twosie. So I think we'd want to see if we can do it the entire paired homes as with basements, but we certainly can do it. Obviously, you can't do one unit adjacent unit without one. That doesn't work. But I agree with you. We need to look at our costs for that. It is important to us. You'd asked about how the sales work. So typically, and this is our typical project, it'll be a little bit different here because there might be down payment assistance and that sort of thing. What we do is we open up for sale, and we'll open up for sale, say, 8 paired homes and 4 townhomes. And buyers will be able to select those, knowing that we're going to open up additional areas as those sell. We'll build those units as we sell them. So they'll put a deposit down, generally speaking. and then we'll go through the build process, which could take anywhere from 6-7 months to build a home. So it's already, the price of the home's already known. It's a known quantity at the beginning, but for if they want to do some upgrades at our design gallery, they can do that as long as they stay within their parameters.
And then, so when you do that, are you going to be able to be within this time limit for the grants? If you're just doing one building at a time, or are you gonna,
That's
your
a
later
very astute
building's gonna,
question.
yeah.
2026. We have until 2026, which is right around the corner. So, yes, we would need to move quickly. I think at the price point we're going to be, we're very confident that we won't have, say, a lull in sales. We may need to, what we call spec, to get homes up and running so we can kind of cheat that timeline a little bit. But yes, there is a timeline, and that's why we're really kind of pushing fast, not only on the front end, but also on the back end. I don't know if I answered.
Okay, and then who would they contact, the ladies, or who would they contact and when?
We'll start with an on-site sales trailer to begin before we have models, and then we'll have models built, and they'll go to the models. We'll have a salesperson staff there. Jill and Shannon, I don't know if you want to speak to it, but they'll help with some of that, if there's any down payment assistance needed in finding those programs, because there's assistance with that as well.
Okay, so if we know someone who would be interested,
Yes.
like a small family, you know, with one child or whatever.
So we have multiple programs that are running very similar to this, and we'll actually do an initiative, and if the city prefers, we usually go through a public process, which is on-site educational sessions to allow people to meet with lenders. We have a program through what's called the Michigan Workforce Housing Corporation that brings in specialty mortgage products, that brings in different employers and different funders that allow for additional down payment assistance, to your point, that, you know, can feed as that supplemental to some of the lower income thresholds to meet the delta of the final sales price. And that, you know, as Tim said, there'll be a pre-sale opportunity where people can make a deposit on the units, that we can work with, you know, local, what we call home counselors, different banks and mortgage companies that are participating, the sales team, to educate the broader public and allow for people to come in at one time to do initial down payment and reserve units, as Tim said, and bring them different tools to help bridge that process.
So the assistance can be for the down payment, or can it be like if they sell their old house and have enough for down payment but need assistance for the
They'll have
upgrade?
requirements. So within our missing middle protocol, we have some specialty requirements beyond the traditional, say, FHA. We do have to meet what's, a debt to income ratio that's 31%, so a little bit lower than standard. They'll, in this likely we'll have handouts that will allow for people to understand what they need to get mortgage ready or mortgage approved. What they need for their down payment, what they need to get pre-qualified, which will allow them to move to the next step, which is reservation of the units. There's different types of down payment assistance programs that are available right now in Wayne County, also through the Michigan Housing Development Authority right now, that will be leveraged to gap those pieces between the delta of the final sales price.
Okay.
All right now, thank you very much. Roll call vote, Mrs. Frank. Because we had discussion.
Yep. Councilman Jenny.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaPratt.
It's not time.
It's not public hearing right now.
Councilwoman LaPratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes?
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Costantino.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, item G2, collective bargaining agreement, Harper Woods Firefighters, IAFF Local 1188. Mayor and Council, we have reached an agreement with the Harper Woods Firefighters Association. The agreement provides for cost of living wage increase and other provisions consistent with other firefighter unions' collective bargaining agreements across the state and surrounding southeastern Michigan areas. It will cover the period from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025, and a summary of the contract is attached. The agreement was ratified unanimously by its union membership. It is recommended that agreement be approved. Mayor, a resolution is recommended.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
by resolution, approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Harper Woods Firefighters Association Local 1188 for the contract term of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025, and further authorize the mayor and acting city manager to sign the agreement on behalf of the city of Harper Woods.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call vote, Mrs. Franks.
Councilwoman LaPrat.
Yes.
Mayor Pro, excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Costantino.
Yes.
Councilman Jenny.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, item G3, Winborn Consulting LLC Fire Department merger. Mayor and council, the city is in the process of reevaluating and improving its first responder services. The city of Harper Woods is considering a fire department merger with the city of Detroit or other nearby cities as suggested by the recently adopted city council resolution. It is essential for the city of Harper Woods to fully understand the potential implications of such mergers before making any decisions to do so. Furthermore, the analysis performed needs to be objective and honest due to the deep level of emotions that will inevitably be invoked. Winborn Consulting has done a fine job in the past at identifying problems and suggesting solutions, and their objective analysis will be needed for the upcoming redesign. Therefore, it is recommended that the City of Harper Woods engage in this study with Winborn Consulting LLC, with the funds being utilized from the American Rescue Plan Funds, ARPA, and no funds will be expended from the city's general fund. Mayor, a resolution is recommended.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
by resolution to engage in an analysis for alternative fire services to be conducted by Winborn Consulting LLC in the amount of $63,375, with American Rescue Plan Funds, ARPA, being utilized.
Support.
Any discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
By the sounds of this, when it says the upcoming redesign or whatever, it sounds like we've already made our decision. So what are we getting for the $63,000 if it's already gonna, are they helping with redesigning or they're?
Okay, I
What's
can
going
answer.
on here?
I can answer that. Okay, there has been no deal
Right.
reached. What is going to happen is Winborn is going to analyze and report back to the council and do a full public disclosure on all the different combinations that were contained in the resolution that was passed by council. After that process, city council will make the decision on what is the best move for the community.
Is there any further discussion?
Okay, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this came from our discussion at our last council meeting, where the fire department wanted us to look at alternative sources, and that's what this is all about.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I have a question, didn't come out right, question about when Winborn does this study, will they be contacting like our fire department, our police department? I mean, do they have a group of people that they work with in the city? Is this entirely outside of the scope of the city? I'm just curious what their methodology is.
They will be talking to everybody that they need to talk with. On the last report, they talked with the fire department, they talked with the director of public safety. They will do the same thing with the various cities, involved in that resolution. And again, they'll be reporting the facts back. Winborn has performed over analysis for over 600 fire departments across the country. They are a court monitor for the New York City's fire department. They know fire departments like the back of their hand.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Frank.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Costantino.
Yes.
Councilman Jenny.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaPrat.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, item G4, sale of tax foreclosed property. Mayor and council, at your last meeting, you approved the purchase of 3 tax foreclosed properties under our first right of refusal agreement with Wayne County. We now have 2 investors that have expressed interest in purchasing these homes. The Wayne County Treasurer has authorized us to work with such development partners to restore these properties and sell them to interested parties. The purchasers and the total cost of the properties, including outstanding monies owed to the city, are as follows. Willie Dowell Santurio, Inc., 20293 Kingsville, $14,222.07. 19405 Eastwood, $22,897.11. To Richard Inger, Selling the Motor City LLC, 20308 Roscommon, $14,011.11. It is my recommendation that authorization to sell these properties be approved. Mayor, a resolution is recommended.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
by resolution to authorize the acting city manager to sell tax foreclosed properties at a price of $51,130.29 to the interested buyers as outlined, including all monies owed to the city, and further to authorize the acting city manager and the mayor to sign all necessary documents to complete the transactions.
Support.
Discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
this is a terrible deal. This, I don't know why we're selling these houses for just like pennies more than the taxes are. I mean, Eastwood, I just sold a house in Eastwood for almost $160,000. There was a house on Eastwood that was totally burned up that had been in a fire, and it still sold for $42,000 just for the property value. I mean, this is a terrible deal. I think we can do a lot better. We could really do a lot better.
Mayor, can I rebut that? We're not allowed to make a profit
Right.
on any of the houses that are in tax foreclosure. The only thing that we can do is recover back taxes, water bills, special invoices for grass cutting, snow and ice control, and turn them over to an investor. The investor can do the rehab in the house, sell the house, put it back on the tax rolls, and have the tax monies come back to the city. And Ty, could you please come up here and shed a few more comments on this too? This is nothing new. We have been doing this, I want to say, for the last,
We were
10
fixing
years.
them up for a while.
No, we sold them and then they got fixed up. We never made a profit on them.
Yeah, but these probably aren't going to be going to people that are going to sell them to homeowners. These are probably going to end up being rentals.
No.
No.
Okay.
No. That's
All
the
right.
stipulation.
We're trying to, as a matter of fact, at this price point, we probably could find some very valuable homeowners as opposed to renters. Now, it just so happens we have to do it this way, but we're working with reputable people who don't want to rent property in the city of Harper Woods. They'd rather sell it and move on. And that is really our agreement with it, that if we sell it to you, will you find homeowners? And that is what they're going to work on.
No rentals.
Are there any further
That's-
discussion?
Better, I guess, if they're not going to be rentals.
Is there any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, Mrs. Frank.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Hinton.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Costantino.
No,
Councilman Jenny,
Yes.
Councilwoman LaPrat,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, item G5, progress payment number 1, 2023 storm sewer open cut repair project number 180-314. Mayor and council, attached is a letter from our city engineers transmitting progress payment number 1 on the 2023 storm sewer open cut repairs number 180-314. It is recommended that this payment be approved. Mayor, a resolution is recommended.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
make a resolution to approve payment to Great Lakes Contracting Solutions LLC in the amount of $80,227.19 for progress payment number 1 on the 2023 storm sewer open cut repairs number 180-314.
Support.
Discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I think I was noticing that we had quite a few, looks like water, storm sewer problems. And I was looking down and, that's all, just commenting. So I definitely approve.
Heather's not here, but this was the repair that we approved for on Huntington.
Yeah,
and Beacon.
these are all around the city, but we had some major work, I want to say along Vernier. There were voids under the sidewalk, and all of this is related.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, Mrs. Franks.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes?
Mayor Kindle,
Yes.
Councilwoman Constantino,
Yes.
Councilman Jenny.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaPrat.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, item G6, contract modification, Beaconsfield Water Main Crossing, number 180-266. Mayor and council, attached is a correspondence from our engineers requesting a contract modification on the Beaconsfield Water Main Crossing project to include the emergency excavation, removal, and replacement of a 10-foot badly deteriorated sanitary sewer pipe on Vernier Road that was damaged during the lining process. The current contractor on this project submitted the lowest bid for the emergency repair work. It is my recommendation that the contract modification, as prepared by our city engineers, be approved. Mayor, a resolution is recommended.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I make a resolution to approve the contract modification in the amount of $24,750 to Fontana Construction for the emergency repair of a 10-inch sanitary sewer pipe.
Support.
Discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'm just curious, I know that I was reading the report on how it was damaged during the lining process. If the lining had gone in, would we have any worries about this?
Well, what happened on this particular instance is they were sewer jetting the project, and the sewer jet, the nozzle of the sewer jet got caught. They couldn't pull it out. And when they went to further investigate, they found out that the line was collapsed, and not only was the line collapsed, but there was a void, a washout all around the pipes, and that's why you saw all of the barricade tapes around by Wayne County Community College, right by the sidewalks, because people were actually walking right over a void that they couldn't see. So that's what this is fixing.
Another question is there any kind of insurance from the vendor for any kind of damage that might happen while the work is being done? In other words, can we recoup anything on damage?
I mean, our engineer, they do inspections on the work, and it either passes or it fails. They do warranty work, but this was just a deteriorated line altogether.
Okay,
That's-
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, no further discussion. Roll call vote, Mrs. Franks.
Mayor Kindle,
Yes.
Councilwoman Constantino.
Yes.
Councilman Jenny.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaPrat.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, item G7, Milk River SRF project interest. Mayor and council, attached is an invoice from Wayne County for the city's proportionate share of the SRF project interest payment. It is recommended that this payment be approved. Mayor, a resolution is recommended.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
my resolution approve payment to Wayne County in the amount of $198,295.08 for the city's proportionate share of the SRF project interest.
Support.
Discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I know that the retention basins that are going in at Eastland, as well as, I assume, the retention basin that will be going in at the Popard property, are going to alleviate some cost for water that the city currently pays. Do we know whether, this is a project interest, so I assume it's not going to affect the interest on a project. But do we know when we might start to see a decrease in the cost of our water?
What's going to take place is once the basins get built, once Eastland Commerce Center is fully operational, there'll be a study that will reevaluate the rates that are charged to all the partnering communities. I can't say when that's going to take place, but it's a couple years down the road.
Hopefully, we are able to vote on when it's time for us to vote.
Hopefully. All right, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, Mrs. Franks, please.
Councilwoman Costantino.
Yes.
Councilman Jenny.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaPrat.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Okay, item G8, progress payment, Beaconsfield resurfacing. Mayor and council, attached is a memorandum from the Director of Public Works transmitting an invoice from the Michigan Department of Transportation for the city's portion of the Beaconsfield resurfacing project Phase 2. As you recall, this MDOT project required a match from the city, and this invoice represents a portion of that cost. I have reviewed this and recommend that this invoice be approved. Mayor, a resolution is recommended.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
By resolution to approve the payment to the Michigan Department of Transportation in the amount of $10,926.69 for the city's proportionate share of the Beaconsfield resurfacing project Phase 2.
Support.
Discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
how many more payments do we have?
I want to say that the project is almost done. It's open to normal traffic now. The remaining items that need to be completed are the signage installation, the permanent striping that's going to be on the street, final backfill and vegetative restoration where concrete curbs and ramps were removed and replaced. So I do anticipate, at least some of their retainage being returned back to them once the work is completed and inspected. It's winding down.
Madam Mayor? Madam Mayor. So we can anticipate, because Beaconsfield seems like it's been going on since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
We can anticipate to be completed this year?
Oh, it's going to be completed by the end of this week. End of this week.
Buddy?
Yes, by Sunday.
Hallelujah.
All right, is there any more discussion? Roll call vote, Mrs. Franks.
Councilman Jenny.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaPrat.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Costantino.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Mayor and council, that concludes the city manager's reports.
All right, we will have called the audience. You have 3 minutes, one time only. And please come up to the
Identify
podium.
yourself.
State your name and where you live, I guess.
Yeah.
We didn't call anybody, just 2 people, 3 people.
Thank you, Council. My name's Jacqueline Lawrence. I live on the corner of Buffet and Dupree. You can find this label on my tree. It's been there since day one of COVID lockdown. Thank you again for selling out my neighborhood. You did not do enough research about the traffic survey. There's no traffic. The one that was presented to Building Commission is invalid. Thank you again for not showing a site plan to represent the electrical that may affect the neighbors in the area getting lighting into their bedrooms. Thank you again for not presenting a sewer water plan for the residents to see. And thank you again for not asking how many gallons of water is going to be needed in that retention pond for 71 units. Thank you very much, Council, for selling out the city of Harper Woods to McKinnon and the developers of the 35-story buildings. Thank you very much, Council, for selling us out. Be sure to know that I'm concerned about the water grant that's permitted. I could have swore I was at a meeting that already had the final payment to Milk Grant. I could have swore I was here at that meeting. That might have been a year ago when I was the only one active in your shenanigans. You forgot about just a moment, put me on pause. I'm going as fast as I can.
You have,
I see in the master plan, now that this development is 35 feet high, that is your intent in 2040 for Harper to be 35 feet high. No discussion was pertained by the council in regards to how does a burnt out building now go to build a 35 feet house. If there's a vacant lot in between two homes, how is that 35 feet going to affect the current residents? I want to know why the master plan has 10-foot flower pots in the middle of intersections by 2040. I want to know why those sidewalks have to be 8 feet wide in McKinnon's master plan. Are you selling out to 15-minute cities, Council?
Good evening, Mayor and Council and citizens. My name is Kimberly Brown, and I'm on Kingsville in Harper Woods. And I'm calling, it's a little bit off our agenda today, but I received a text message on August the 21st concerning marijuana dispensary businesses being open. It was from another citizen. She texted me and asked me if I was coming to the meeting the day before. She received a letter the day before. I'm concerned because it has the Harper Woods label on it. I'm concerned of why such an important issue was only given to certain citizens, and we're all in Harper Woods, and it's only Harper Woods is very small. I received a text, and of course I could not make it. I want to know, or if somebody can answer it, or later on, that this does not happen again, because something like this that's serious, I think all of the citizens should know. So not only did I not receive it, I contacted other people in the area and around inside Harper Woods, and they had no idea of it neither. And so I'm concerned about this. This is very serious, because something like this of that importance, I think all citizens in the Harper Woods area should have known about this and given more time to even appear the day of that hearing. That's my concern. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robin Lindsay, and I stayed on Kingsville, Woodside. Got me going. I stayed on Woodside off Cali, and I'm in between two halls. One of them got closed down. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, because I was sitting on my porch tonight. That shootout happened. That was the third shootout at that hall, and three people was shot. One, I heard that. This side, next door to Subway. I talked to the man that's leasing the building or whatever. He stays up in Farmington, him and his wife. So I was telling him about what's going on up here, and when all his crowd leave at night, all the trash is all in the parking lot, bottles, liquor bottles, all that's in the parking lot. And then when it rains, it's in front of my house because I got the sewer. He told me I ain't got nothing to do with that. I said, don't tell me that. You could pay somebody to clean up your area. And he got mad, said he ain't got, we went to cussing. I said, okay. Could y'all please help us close that down? We don't need a hall. We could make it a bingo hall for the elders.
Can you speak to the city
Yeah,
manager after?
Yes, could you see the Director of Public Safety with that question after the meeting? He's right in the corner right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
over there, speak
Please
with him
do, yeah.
with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council
Good
members.
evening.
Good evening.
My name is Janetta Tavron, and I'm a part of the Neighborhood Economic Development Coalition, NEDC. And we would like to thank all of you who came out to our first walkathon that we had August 26th at Salter Park. We want to thank you and the community members who came out. And a portion of the proceeds will be going to the Grosse Pointe Animal Adoption Society. So on September 13th, we will be having another meeting at Salter Park where we will be presenting Corinne a check for the Grosse Pointe Animal Adoption Society. All are welcome.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you guys can see on the back of my shirt, I'm an avid cyclist.
Hello, everyone. I've done 2,000 miles on my bike this year, and I'm still standing in front of you. Denise Miller, I'm sorry. I live on Washtenaw in Harper Woods. I grew up in Harper Woods, actually. My parents bought it here in the 40s. There was a cyclist injured, and I'm not sure if he's alive or if he's dead because nobody will even tell me from the police department. He was hit coming across the Kenosha Bridge. His body parts were all over, blood everywhere, bicycle everywhere. I don't know why the city didn't excel any of us. I heard through rumors that he was on life, he was a gentleman, he was on life support. But we as a community maybe can put this in our next newsletter on what we can do to be safe as cyclists in the city, as well as car drivers. Stop at the stop signs. There is no speed limit sign from 8 Mile to Moross on this side of the bridge. You guys know that? It doesn't say 35 miles an hour. So people get off at the exit down here, and they go all the way to Moross, and they don't know how fast they're supposed to drive, and they fly. I'm a cyclist. I walk my dog everywhere. Please, let's do something to make our community safer. And can anyone tell me if this person survived? Does anyone in the council know? No one will answer.
That's a HIPAA violation, by the way.
Can't say it.
Yeah, we can't.
Well, this is what I'm presenting.
No, we can't,
Okay, so this is what you do. I'm as a cyclist and work with the Michigan League of Cyclists. If there's somebody that's been injured or killed in any city, we put up what we call a ghost bike. A bicycle that is sprayed white and put in that vicinity. And I would like to present to council that I will get this ghost bike and I will put it up, if that's okay, on the corner over there by Kenosha and Harper, by that stop sign. Can we look into that?
Thank you for your comment. We'll look into it.
Will you get back with me?
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Do you know where I live?
You just.
You just.
I live at 20673 Washtenaw.
And you could give your other information to him after the meeting.
Okay.
We do not want that broadcast.
Okay. I'm proud of where I live. I take good care of my place. And I take good
That's not the problem. We got crazies everywhere too.
True.
Hi, Jeff Kirkman, 208 6th Street Country Club. My family's been here for 54 years. I guess this is a question to the city manager or the clerk. There's been a lot of talk about the tax abatement for this project on Popard. I have not been able to find anything I read through the 41 pages that are attached to your agenda. There's nothing about the tax abatement. Where do I find that information?
There's two things that are gonna go on with that. It's called a neighborhood enterprise zone.
Right, I know about the NECs.
You can Google that, you can take a look at that. I wanna say Michigan, Michigan Treasury, with Lara, they have a nice,
I've signed up for that already.
yeah, a nice, I want to say, synopsis on how that works, what parts of the law that's enacted, but essentially what it does is it charges half of the millage rates for a limited amount of time. There's single exemptions for every one of the houses. And that property paid no taxes as a school. It was tax exempt property. So this is the first time in the city's history that we're actually going to be getting money, tax dollars for housing unit.
Does that need to be applied for or approved by the council?
That's all going to be part of this whole development. We're going to have to go to the Michigan Treasury, and I want to say get another vehicle. It's called a Brownfield Recovery Act tax incentive, for demolition costs. And the other part of this is the neighborhood enterprise zone tax certificates. So there's going to be a few things going on in regards to this.
So it's a Michigan issue, not a
It's a
council
Michigan issue, yes. It's going to involve their environmental departments. It's going to involve their Economic Development Corporation. It's a whole formal process and a whole formal public hearing that's going to occur on a statewide level. We have to do the same thing for East Lane.
And will that be then paid for by these guys or by us in the city? Like the
Well,
Brownfield?
what's going to happen is they're going to provide the money to demolish the school, and what will happen is they will recoup that money through the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority over a series of years. And that's the way development is happening in the state of Michigan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, I'm Janice Mall. I live at 20455 Lennon, which is a corner of Lennon and Dupre, exactly across from houses 25, 26, 27, and 28. Those four houses that are going to face my house are on the shortest part. I specifically stated when Tim was here before, I did not want parking on Dupre. All of a sudden, it's okay. That's the shortest space to put a sidewalk and parking. Now you're telling me that I'm going to have 4 air conditioners blaring at my house, and now because Ms. Vivian was concerned about safety, I'm going to have 4 lights blaring at my house in the back of these houses, plus everybody's trash at my house as well in the back. So that's what you're proposing that I get to look at and I get to experience on a daily basis. Through the city council's recommendations and things, I have heard no concerns about the residents around the property that is going to be developed. Not our concerns. What about flooding? What about damages to our home? What about the noise? What about the dirt? What about when the buildings come down and the implosions? The abatement company that's coming in and doing the asbestos. Are we going to be notified of things, or are they just going to happen? And then how about all the heavy equipment that's going to be going up and down our streets? We moved here in 1991. When we did move in here in 91, they were redoing our street. We had tons of heavy equipment. We had things banging on our street. We had to keep checking our basements to be sure they weren't cracked. And so none of this has I heard any concern about the residents. All I hear about is what's going up. And what about us that have to live through this for the next couple of years? Also, this missing middle housing, it kind of sounds like double talk. The developer's building houses for $325,000 that he can't afford to build, so he's looking funding to help. You're selling them for $220,000, and plus you're giving the people that can't afford the houses mortgage credit so they can put down on the houses that they can't afford. I don't see how that's not considered some type of low-income housing. It just all sounds like double talk on that. It doesn't make any sense, and I addressed it at the last when they had the meeting with the city the last meeting, and no one addressed that either, so it didn't sound right at all. There's been no discussion on EV chargers and the safety and the regulation of those that may be put into the house. And when Tim was here before, he's talked about a traffic study in the beginning of his presentation, and then at the end of the presentation, he actually lied to the planning commission and said that he had never done it. So as far as that goes, I live across the street. I know it's busy for a half hour in the morning with the school, a little bit at lunchtime, a half hour after school, and then everybody goes away. Now this is my life for 24/7 because you're gonna put 150 people, 150 cars and people, and I don't know what else can go on.
James Melnick, President, Local 1188. Excuse me, a little dry. It's only 92 degrees in here. Thank you for your consideration and votes regarding the collective bargaining agreement. We look forward to moving forward. The union hopes to remain solvent throughout the wind board planning for the future and of what's going to happen. That's all. I'm pretty clear. Thank you.
My name is Kathy Herman. I'm at 20481 Beaufait. I had several questions that I wanted to ask, but I believe it was not the appropriate time earlier because it was the public comments that were to be made, and I think it was made clear that no questions could be asked at that time. My questions were to Tim, who is no longer present here, so how can I address those questions to him, although some of the people just brought up some of the things I was concerned with. You do not want to really hear what the public wants to ask you, or you would have allowed questions earlier before you passed your resolution. Thank you for listening.
That's not accurate.
Thank you.
That's why you had a chance to speak.
My name's Eileen Ross. I live at 20642 Lennon. I also agree with everything that is said. It's a little disheartening that you asked us to wait. So we thought that we would be able to still speak while they were here. Also, a lot of us have been at all the meetings. We were at the last meeting, and we were told that the final vote was going to be tonight. So when we're told by you that you don't have any say-so, that's not what we were told. We were told that you all had the final vote, which you were voting tonight, which we thought would be after you heard our questions, comments, concerns. So to have us be told to sit down and be silent and then vote before we have our questions, comments, and concerns is a real slap in the face to all of us. I don't understand that. It's really disheartening. I just started coming to meetings, getting involved. I've been lied to. Everything I've been told about this plan from the beginning, we will not take out a cul-de-sac was the first thing. Absolutely not. By my house, that's gone. It's just unbelievable to me. You've made your vote though, which this is extremely overpopulated. Absolutely don't understand how people are going to afford this. And when also when this tax incentive goes away, I don't know how they're going to afford it. It's going to be very expensive with all the other bills that everybody has. Questions that you cannot answer now, but all the people I have to ask them, they're gone. So if somebody could look into, my house is the last house across from the park. So now the playground equipment's going to be on the other side of it. According to that chart, it looks like they just have bushes, or I think it might be trees there, not a fence. Now there is a fence that the school had up, but for the last 3 years the school was open, my husband and I talked to the school district about replacing it because the cement has come out of the ground. If you look at it, you can see the blocks where it comes in. and the principal was looking into it and talking to the school district. I'm sure they blew them off because there were talks of closing the school, and so it never got replaced. Obviously, they weren't gonna put any money into it. So that it's not a stable fence. So having just trees is not really a good option to have a playground that's open to the public, which I'm fine with. It's much better than townhouses, but there should be a fence there. And then at the very end of the last meeting, somebody looked at the site work coming in off of the service drive into the park. We need a little sidewalk so people aren't just walking on grass, I would imagine. Thank you.
It's like sidewalk all along.
Name is Bill Mall, 20455 Lennon, which would be the northwest corner of Lennon and Dupre. I want to commend the City Council on making the request for rezoning, the first item to talk about. Where at the beginning you told us if we had questions we could ask the developer. You guys took care of that. I commend you on that. Number two, I've lived here for 30 years. I've seen a lot of baseball games across the street, a lot of soccer games, a lot of school functions. Numerous times I could not park alongside my house. I could not get my car out of the driveway. So thank you for this nice little mess you're giving me. And again, I commend you for making this. And I know you don't answer questions, so I don't have no questions. I just want to thank you all. You did a beautiful job.
Okay.
Good evening. John Shenburne, Roscommon 19159. I've been here since I was 6 months old. I'm 71. Couple of things. Our mayor keeps saying speed bumps don't work. Well, if speed bumps don't work, how come I talk to everybody, even down in Detroit and everywhere, including Royal Oak, who's putting them in? They don't work, but Royal Oak's putting them in. Oh, gee, they don't work? Why would they be putting them in? Second of all, I'd like to see the ordinance changed on roofs in this city. I've been informed that you can't put a metal roof on your home, even though it looks like a shingle. Lasts a lot longer than the shingles do. Our scout camps are all going to metal roofs on all our cabins and everything else. We're tired of putting money into regular shingles. The other thing is the Grosse Pointe School owns the property, but the property's not in Grosse Pointe. Property is here in Harper Woods, and you should be concerned, and you keep saying, oh, I gotta stay out of it. No, as a city, you should be in it and finding out what's going on because it affects our city. The property is theirs, but it's what's gonna happen with our city that counts with it. They don't care. They don't care who they sell it to or whatever, they're just gonna sell it. They wanna get rid of it. I commend them for not taking and letting it become a charter school. But the property is in our city, not theirs. That's the point that people are trying to make. And that's why the city should be involved more than what they are. Oh, the other thing is, I'm getting tired of seeing our garbage company going through, and when they empty the garbage, they throw it, the garbage cans in the street. They went down my street yesterday late, which is the first day they should have been going down because it's a day late, but they're not behind. They come through at about almost 4:30 or so, and they're throwing the garbage cans all over.
Your time is
It looked
up.
like a wind. And
Your
then they
time
don't
is up,
pick,
sir.
then they don't pick up. This time limit
It's time.
is ridiculous.
Your
It
time is up.
infringes on our rights to
Your
talk to
time is
you,
up. Your time is
okay? It infringes on our right to talk to you.
up. Your time is up.
The other thing is, they keep
No.
not picking up the grass.
No. It's it. You're no different than anybody else.
Then
Excuse
you
me?
need to
Excuse me?
limit your
Excuse me?
three, you need,
Excuse
when you
me?
talk back to us, you need to
Excuse
limit
me?
yours to 3 minutes.
Jason, would you escort Mr. whatever out of the building?
3 minutes for you guys.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll start with Councilwoman Constantino.
Yeah, I'm hearing all your concerns. I've been listening to you. I encourage you strongly, if you have strong opinions, please get on the boards and commissions when the spots come open. The Planning Commission has a lot of power over all these things that are happening. All we got to do was just to vote on the enterprise zone. That's all we get to vote on. This is all Planning Commission and Grosse Pointe Schools. So, but I do encourage you all, just please get involved in the community. I love seeing you out here. And I love to have you guys get involved at a higher level so you know what's going on and you can share it within the community. Because a lot of times I'm trying to tell people what's going on and I feel like I'm not able to get the information out by myself. And by you guys coming here, you can share the information with the whole community. So please get involved, find some boards and commissions you're interested in and sign up. Be part of the leadership of the city.
Mr. Toussaint.
I've been pretty excited about the new redevelopment here, Uncle Part. I was hoping everyone else would be. We've been at this for quite a while, over a year or so, and taking a lot of input from people. And people have even called me, and I've said, well, make sure you get in touch with economic development. They're right in touch with going to all the meetings and all that and getting input from everybody. It's unfortunate that we get some of the input now kind of late. But the one good thing about it is to be a change that we'll have some revenue, tax revenue coming in from 71 homes for a change. And that's something very, very exciting. We can use some additional tax revenue. Again, to the NEDC, and coming in on your walkathon, it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun on that one. I should have worn my little medal of winner. That's all, thank you. No, they gave you
Yes,
$1,000.
I think there's been some confusion tonight when the mayor repeatedly asked for people to comment on today's agenda items. That was the time for public comment on the agenda items. Just an FYI to members of the community, if you see on our new business that there is time for public comment, it's a public hearing. All right, there is no public hearing tonight. There is just an opportunity at the beginning of the meeting to comment on anything on the agenda to follow. So if there is some confusion, I certainly am sorry that that happened. I know some of the concerns that were voiced were a little confused. One person talked about street lighting, and what I'm referring to is street lighting behind all of the new houses, not on the Lennon or on the opposite sides or on the Dupre Avenue side. All of these are shielded by the houses. I'm talking about in their parking area. But I also wanted to bring up something else. There has been some question in the community. A few people have mentioned on Facebook that the city is going to be in for some big costs for asbestos removal at Eastland. And so at this time, I want to make certain that we're very clear about, you know, any rumors that might be going around implying that the city is going to have some huge multiple millions of dollars that we're going to need to pay in the future. And so I'm going to ask our acting city manager if he could clear up that error so that it's on the record and we can say this has been mentioned at the meeting.
Mayor Pro Tem Sawicki, what kind of messages were on Facebook regarding asbestos? Was this at Eastland Commerce Center?
Yes, at the Eastland Center. What we see mentioned is that that the city is going to be in it for multiple millions of dollars to help clean up the asbestos removal at Eastland.
Okay. Before this project was even started with Eastland, not only was the city of Harper Woods involved, but the state's Economic Development Corporation and the state's environmental arms. They did all the inspections. They made sure that all the asbestos was abated before they could even give a brownfield recovery status. That is all part of the process to clean up the land before you build something on it. We are absolutely not on the hook for any kind of asbestos abatement or neglect. That site was approved by the state of Michigan. Whatever is on Facebook and whoever is putting this on Facebook, it is a blatant lie. I will say that publicly. Whoever is putting this on Facebook, the city is not on the hook for any kind of asbestos abatement, and the same thing is going to happen with Poe Park. The asbestos is going to be removed before anything is built on that site.
Thank you.
Yeah, unbelievable what people write on Facebook.
Tom?
Ma'am, I have nothing at this time.
Sherry?
All right. The only thing I have is that the Beautification Commission, and I want to reiterate what Councilwoman Constantino said, that there are openings on every board and commission. Each one of us sits on at least one of them. The only board I do believe the commission is the Planning Commission that no council members sit on, so we refer to them to give us their judgment on projects. But the Beautification Commission on September 16th from 10 to 12 at Salter Park is having the plant and seed exchange. So come on out, and I'm sure most of council will be there, and you can bring your plants and seeds and meet some fellow residents, and that's all I have.
Okay, I have a couple of things to say. One, I went to the walkathon and I really enjoyed myself. I walked a lot further than I intended. I intended only to go like, half a mile. But, the signs out and all the encouragement of people that was out there, it was very nice and very encouraging, and a very nice event. I was pleased that when we looked at the fire department's contract, that they included the mutual aid pack on it, which is something that they was concerned because they wanted to be part of. If we do get other cities to help with our fire department, they wanted to be able to have a say-so. And that is in their contract, so that's a good thing that they have an opportunity to talk to the employer about it because it's under the mutual aid pack on page 2, that they have opportunity to talk to employer about it before everything, goes through. So that's good that that was offered to the fire department. Another thing, I do think that we can offer something in our insider about cyclist safety. I think that would be pretty easy to do. It would be nice if it came out earlier in the summer, because of the biking. But I think we can include something about cyclist safety, maybe in our next insider, perhaps.
That's a good idea.
And here's something, our police chief is not here, because this is actually directed to him. But
He's right in the hall.
yeah, I kind of need him to hear it. But the other day, my husband was driving on Roscommon near Lancaster, and this was on Labor Day, 8:30 at night. There was 2 police cars on the street. So there was 2 police cars on the street. So my husband was on Roscommon and Lancaster. He was driving down the street coming home. He say he has respect for the police department, but not so much after this, because he said there was a speeder that came down the street, almost crashed into him, swerved around his car, and then swerved around a police car that was on the street, that was driving down the street. It swerved around them, just kept on going. And he said neither of those 2 patrol cars reacted at all. One just kept on driving down the street, and the other one pulled off into traffic real slow, as if nothing had happened. I hear residents complaining all the time about these speeders going down our street, and it happened to my husband. And I mean, I would have been devastated if that guy had actually hit his vehicle. But the thing is that the police did not react at all. And there was 2 police cars right there. And I mean, I need our police to react, to stop these speeders, to not just let them get by and do whatever they want. I think that is part of the problem. I don't know why that happened, that there was no response. But I am hoping that our police will start stopping these speeders, not be scared to stop them, stop them. I used to drive through Grosse Pointe. Grosse Pointe would stop you. You don't hardly have to be speeding. Your light could be blinking the wrong way, and they would stop you for something. But I don't really see it happening here, and it should be. I mean, we have to cut down on those speeders, because that was an incident that should have been obvious, because he was upset, because the cops did nothing. They just cruised on down like nothing was going on that night. And that was Labor Day, about 8:30, Roscommon and Lancaster, so 2 patrol cars was there.
Was that not the part of that chase from Detroit? Because I knew it ended up on Roscommon or something.
I'm not familiar with the mayor. I
Yeah.
can look into it though. And I just defer to
It was
Barbara
something,
while I was out
yeah.
in the lobby.
It was some kind of chase that started off in Detroit, and I don't know why our officers did not pursue, but I know that they ended up being caught on Roscommon and something. It was a chase that started in Detroit, and I think we came to the assistance of it. That's what I got from my police friends.
Okay, I'll look it up and I'll get back with the councilwoman. That's
Yeah,
unacceptable.
because the helicopter was out and also,
Okay.
and it was about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
He said the
somewhere
cars
in
just
that
went
area.
by him and then drove around the police
Yeah,
car.
but-
And that's what upset
But
him.
see,
He
when
said nothing.
they have a plan, they probably allowed them to go the way that they wanted them to go, where they could snag them where they were wanted to be, because they did catch them on Roscommon.
Okay, yeah, because I could have been.
So tell your husband that it wasn't that the guys was ignored, they were probably under command to follow a certain direction to reroute so they would not go a different way. They wanted them to go into the snag that they had them in. That was why, most likely. But if that's, because that's the timing of when I noticed the other, and that's when I got a call.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll look into it.
Okay.
Okay, and my last couple of points is I went to the Harperwood School District Back to School Fair, It was really nice. They had book bags and food for the kids. They had the robotics club was out so that you could see what the students are doing. So it was really nice. It wasn't as big of a turnout as I think it could have been, but it was a really nice back to school fair, and that was the Harperwood School District schools. Because I'm a strong supporter for education, and I want to welcome back to school all of the teachers and administrators and students, and hope they have a very productive school year. I'm an educator myself, 28 years in education as of this year. 2 more years kind of to go. And I'm also pleased that Beaconsfield was open both ways before school started, because I asked that at the last meeting.
Yes.
So that was very good.
Some minor repairs, but that's minor.
Weather permitting.
And stripping, yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Is that it? All right, I have the last word, and I'm really grateful that all of you all are here, because you can get the information correctly from us. I'm sorry that you thought I thought until I was tapped that you would be able to ask questions, but Robertson Brothers has had, I believe, 2 meetings with the residents at WC3 where you could ask all the different questions, and they probably should have another one where you can ask questions and get answers from them directly, because they know exactly. Our planning commission and everyone, we may be able to figure out to have another town hall meeting so that you guys can be comfortable, because as I said, we don't have the last word with it except for planning and zoning. The property belongs to Grosse Pointe School District, and they have sold it or are selling it to the Roberts Brothers as a developer. But they are still amenable to the input from the residents. So I'm going to encourage them to have another town hall meeting if possible, so that you can ask questions with this last rendering. There's a difference. You've had 2 other renderings, so this is supposed to be like their final rendering. So maybe you can ask your questions now that you see exactly what they plan on putting in. Okay. I want to thank North Point for participating with the Harperwood School District community picnic, which was on last Friday, September 1st. And they provided book bags and school supplies, and not cheap bags, it was really nice bags. And I believe they will be a great community partner here for Harper Woods. So they are willing to, like last year, we did clean up with them, and they provided something for Christmas. But they are community oriented, and they want to give back to our community. So we just make sure that we hold them to their word and do what they're supposed to do in our community. I also wanted to let everybody know that there have been changes at Grosse Pointe School District that affects those residents that are living in the Grosse Pointe School District. So you need to be involved and make sure that you're aware of what's going on, because that affects your children and your grandchildren that will be attending the Grosse Pointe School District. And it's just like now, we get it, all of you here, and we appreciate it. But some of the things that we're going over now, we've been in the makings ever since we've been back from COVID. And it's nothing, I mean, it's, we've been doing it, but you have not been involved. And that's the one thing I would like. It's too bad that we no longer have the C&G newspaper or anything. And I was talking with Mr. McGee from the Hopperwood School District on Friday, a possibility having a news station where the kids will come out and broadcast the news, and it would be something that you would be able to pick up on a certain channel, so you would hear all about what's going on in Harper Woods. Because I have reached out to all the local stations, but no one ever covers anything in Harper Woods unless it's a negative thing. Nothing good. Nothing. The festival we've had, the National Night Out, none of those things was ever covered on our local news. But let somebody shot John over here and Sue over there, they're here. And they're here to propagate the negativity of our community. And what we don't need right now is for the negativity to overwhelm the positive things that are going on in our community. And the one thing that we do have here is that we have neighbors that care. All of you care about your neighborhood. Everyone here is for a reason that you want the best for your neighborhood, your block. But we are all blocks together, and we can only be the best when we all work together. And if we disagree, but we don't have to get ugly about it. We can all disagree with each other, but we definitely never have to get insulting. And as long as people treat me with respect, I will respect you to the utmost. Even when you're unkind, I will not respond in unkindness with you, because it's not worth it. But I would appreciate it if we would all extend that kindness to each and every one of us and do the best we can be for Harper Woods. Because we're all here because we love Harper Woods and what it means to each one of us. So I'll speak with you on Kingsville after the meeting. I wanted to bring you up to snuff on some things. And Tom?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?